Thanks, everybody. Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Ricky Camilleri. Criminal Minds fans, rejoice this Saturday and Monday. You can catch our next guests, Joe Mantegna and Kirsten Vangsness, for marathons of their hit show on WeTV, which they will be airing to commemorate the 35th anniversary of National Missing Children's Day. Before we bring our guests out, let's take a look at a quick clip of Criminal Minds.
So we just drop it?
Dave, do you really believe we're dealing with someone trying to exorcise demons?
It doesn't matter what I believe. Possession, mental illness, exorcist, unsub. Who cares what's true? People are dying. This isn't about religion. It's about evil. We attack it with analysis and diligence. For this unsub, it's a fight to the death.
All hail the mistress of information. You got something? You know I do. It's a posting from a web bulletin board by Matthew Benton to create a support group for people who felt betrayed by their faith.
Well, that helps explain how these three men came together.
It gets better. The week the three of them were in Spain, the services at Santiago de Compostela were canceled when the priest there died.
Died how?
Heart attack. But if you listen to the conspiracy chatter, there is a strong belief he was killed to interrupt services during the height of the pilgrimage.
How?
Well, their best guess is some kind of gas, sarin or VX, something that wouldn't show up in an autopsy. But it could be anything that would induce stress, cause a heart attack.
Then we have a motive.
And a potential MO, an eye for an eye.
Without an invitation from the police, I cannot authorize an investigation. This has to be kept quiet.
Everybody, please put your hands together for your favorite criminal profilers, Joe Mantegna and Kirsten Vangsness. Hey, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Congratulations on a bajillion episodes and like 38,000 seasons of this show. It's unbelievable. It's 13, right? You've finished 13.
Yeah, my hair color even changed, I noticed. That's how long I've been on this show.
What season was that from, Joe?
Yeah, I don't know. Season -10, I think.
Well, congratulations. I mean, obviously, when you sign on to a show, you never know how long it's going to last. You never know if you're going to be 1, 2, or, you know, the first 7, which is usually what the contract is for, right? What does it feel like to be going into the 14th season and 300th episode, which is going to be the premiere, right?
Completely dreamy. It feels completely dreamy. I started this show as a 2-line co-star, which is the smallest role you can get. It's like right above background artist. And I was just supposed to be in for a day because the show is too guy heavy for that one episode. So the fact that they keep writing me in the script every time I go into a table read, there it is, that's what I play, that person, is exciting. And I work with such talented, kind human beings, and I think we all feel that way. It's an embarrassment of riches.
Yeah, you have that. It's like being in a band. I mean, I think maybe the Rolling Stones, when they first came out with their first song, they thought, oh, well, this is good. Let's see if we'll play for a year or so. You know, so you just don't know. You put it out there. You think you're doing a good product, you know, something that people are going to gravitate to and enjoy. And, you know, 14 years later, we're starting our 14th season. But it's
Joe
just a
is our
combination
Mick
of
Jagger,
everything.
by the way. You're our Mick Jagger.
Yeah, Mick Jagger. I am not
moves.
as old as Mick Jagger. But anyway, it's great. You know, but you can't predict it, and because if you could, everybody would be doing it. You know, obviously.
I feel like Criminal Minds is also one of those shows where you don't realize it's going to happen, but you probably get recognized all over the world. Whenever I travel, this show is on syndication in every country across the globe.
Yeah, our international is very, very strong, and that you can't predict either, because some shows that are sometimes marginal shows here will be very huge there, and vice versa. Shows that are really huge here. We were doing some publicity in Monte Carlo, and some journalist from France came up to me and says, "Do you have any idea how popular you are in France? You are the #1 show in France." I said, "No, but I'll take note of that. That's good to know. You know, give me a table for crepe Suzettes next time I'm in Paris."
And it's fun because it's like being a friend in the world. You can go to a place that you're totally unfamiliar with. I was somewhere in Italy, and I was kind of wandering around not knowing where I was, and this elderly woman just came up and grabbed my face and just kissed me. And you're like, great, that's great. And if I played a villain, it wouldn't be as exciting, but because I play the person that gives all the answers, people feel very compelled to just throw their arms around you, which ain't bad.
And it's funny to hear yourself talk those different languages too, because I was in Germany. I remember I was in Germany.
Sound the same.
No, and I was watching. I was in a hotel room, and it just happened to be on. I'm flipping through the stations in Munich, and all of a sudden there's Criminal Minds, and it's interesting the people they picked to dub you. because sometimes they have to just look at it and say, well, we'll make a decision. So they obviously figured, oh, he's the oldest guy in the group, so they picked a guy who sounded like he was 100 to do my voice, because like roast him, roast him. But then I told Shamar, who was playing, I remember Shamar's character, they picked a guy that was like, his voice was way up high, so it was like, so I remember I enjoyed
Garcia-
playing that clip for Shamar, saying, Shamar, I think they've got you, I don't know, they have a different image of you in Germany.
And Garcia's got a real deep timbre in German. Yeah, so it's weird.
What is it like? I'm always curious when it comes to a procedural like this. There always has to be a moment where a character, and you kind of had it in this scene, where the music is going to swell, and you are going to sort of announce the thing that you have learned that everybody should be on the same page as with you. And you kind of have to deliver that line in this really great way. What is it like? Do you know that line is going to be like that? And do you is there a practice over the course of time where it's like, this line is this, and we got to hit it this way here?
No, I mean, sometimes they tell you, sometimes you find out when you watch it and they've put that swell of music behind you.
Like, is there a name for that line in the way that there is a name for, like, the second commercial break, like go out, like the boom or whatever it's called?
I don't know, is there? I don't know, you've directed more. I know that sometimes I'll make a decision that, like, when she's learning information, you can rattle it off like exposition, like I already knew this, or you can rattle it off like, oh my God, I just found out this, and then this, and then this, and then this. And then sometimes you acting like this will make them put the music in, or vice versa.
You can't fall in love with that stuff, though, because especially when a show has this, we're going on our 300th episode, those episodes are all over the place, and sometimes they get re-edited, and so all of a sudden what version you saw here, maybe 5 years later, is a different, they made one little cut, and all of a sudden, oh, what happened? They didn't say that line or something. So there's some flexibility in that.
I'd imagine you wouldn't want to go into those scenes being like, make sure you hit this note that we hit and everything, because that would make it kind of redundant for you, and you wouldn't be able to be an actor every day when you go in and do your job.
Right, and I think we do know when we do like our roundtable scenes where we set it up, we know those lines where it's like, dun dun dun. I think that's the technical name for it, by the way. Dun 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 is
That's
the technical.
what I was going for,
That's
yeah.
what you meant. I'm a professional, so I knew that's what it was. But yeah, it's that we all kind of know, like, oh, this is the dun dun dun. So, if he has that line, we all go, or, get really somber, like, what are we going to do? We all kind of feel that out, I think.
No, so WeTV is doing a sort of big marathon on Saturday and Monday, commemorating the 35th anniversary of National Missing
Multiple
Children's.
Saturdays and Mondays.
Multiple Saturdays
Oh,
and
yeah,
Mondays.
it's going to be.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
okay, yeah.
There's more Saturdays and Mondays for everybody.
Talk to me about National Missing Children's Day. What exactly it is, and why you're out here talking about it along with the show.
It's the day that we make sure that we keep awareness for the law enforcement and all the people that take care of and make sure that children are safe, and that when they are put in situations where they're unsafe, that they get them back to safety, and to remind everybody that this is something that we all have to kind of be cognizant about, because the small humans of the world are the ones we're a big human family and we have to take care of each other. And there's a lot of things in our show that highlight ways to stay safe and try not to let it completely freak you out, so you're like hyper vigilant in your house and not wanting to leave your house, but you can learn safety tips from it. And so this is, WeTV has come up with this way to sort of highlight the importance of child safety by doing episodes of Criminal Minds in like a marathon-y kind of way too, and they focus on child abduction stuff and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, there really is those educational aspects to our show that you can watch it, and still it's drama, it's got the excitement, the terror, whatever the elements of the show are. But within those elements, we often really, and there's a conscious effort, I think, on behalf of the writers to show that, you can learn something from this. In other words, how to put yourself so you're not in a particular situation that would lead to this kind of bad end, and also ways to maybe even get yourself out of those situations. So it's nice when you could take a dramatic program and actually put elements of almost a public service within it.
And as much as the show moves each episode moves much faster than an actual sort of profile or arrest would go, the elements are still kind of the elements that would go into a regular sort of profiling situation, right?
Oh yeah, exactly so.
Yeah, we have FBI advisors and all that, and the FBI actually comes and visits us. It's quite an honor when people that are just so full of integrity and so awesome, like the way you pretend to be them, and show up even though you don't really know how to type. That's cool.
Is that true, or do you not know how to type?
Don't look down when you're watching the show. Keep your eyes up
Are
here.
you just kind of banging around?
They actually gave me like a rubber keyboard because I'm so loud because I hit that F12 all the time. F12 gets so much action when you're trying to look for somebody on the keyboard for some reason with me. But no, yeah, don't look down. This hand I'm great at, but this one's not. This is for balance.
Joe, she mentioned that you've directed a number of episodes. How many episodes have you directed at this point?
I'm not sure. I think less than 10, but maybe 8, 9, 10, something like that.
What made you start directing them?
They asked, to tell you the truth. I directed a film years ago, and then it wasn't that I came in and said, hey, I really, that whole line, I'm an actor, but I'd rather direct kind of thing.
Have you made one film? Just one film? Have you made
I did
couple?
one film. It was a film called Lake Boat years ago.
Right.
And it was a wonderful experience, but it was like a year out of my life, and that's a whole other ballgame when you're directing. It's a much bigger responsibility than just being the actor. But they came to me and said, would you be interested in doing some episodes? And I'd already been on the show a few years at that point. And I said, well, sure, I'd be interested in that. And I did the one, and I enjoyed it, and it's been doing about 2 per season since, But you have to put on a whole other hat, and rather than just worrying about your own character, now you have to every sentence, every line, every moment of the show is on your watch. So, but it's a great group, and it's as Kirsten.
He's great. He's great. He's a great director. It's fun when he's there. It's Adam's actually directed. Matthew's directed.
Yeah.
Aisha's directed. But it's so great when he's there directing because you automatically feel like calm because he's so smart. You just trust him.
I imagine not just because you're an actor, but you come up in the theater and you come up I bet you're in a lot of ways an actor's director.
Well, I hope so. I mean, I think when actors are given that opportunity, if they have that inclination to do it, at least they're coming into the game with some idea of what the actors are going through and the process. And so that's a little bit of an advantage, maybe.
I can't imagine being a director and even trying to go into it without trying to understand where actors are coming from. It would just be maddening.
Oh, it happened.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. 'Cause it's like, we just need to get that camera to move that way or that light to be that way.
Wow.
So it's nice when
Yeah, I mean, I said some directors, if they'll come from a place of their whole background is the technical aspects of making a film. So in other words, it's all about the lighting and the sound and the look and stuff like that. And there's not much attention paid sometimes to the story itself. So then you have to really rely on, the actors better have their act together and kind of fill in those blanks themselves.
I imagine having been doing this now for, as we said, 13 seasons, when you get a director like that, not that you often get directors like that, I'm sure all your directors are great, you guys are kind of able to really rely on each other and do your own thing because you know these characters in and out, and you probably know your writers in and out as well.
Yeah, and I mean that's just the gig. I think that's the gig of a director. If you have an actor that's kind of wonky, you've got to fill in the blanks. If we've got a director that's kind of wonky, we have to fill in the blanks, and it all kind of comes out in the wash. But yeah, I mean we all tremendously support each other and are fans of each other and want nothing more but each other's success. So it begets good stuff.
You guys you're kind of one of the few shows still that's doing 22 episodes a season, it feels like. I mean, if you're on CBS, you're doing 22 episodes a season. It feels like they kind of really stick to that at this point. What is that like? Do you guys have any jealousy of the other shows that are doing 10 episodes a season?
No, my feeling is if you like, there's that old line, if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life, and I really feel that, and so I enjoy being with these people. I feel very blessed. I've had a career that has spanned theater, film, now television, and I've liked all of it. And I've been doing it next year will be my 50th year as an actor professionally, and that's that catches my really. And
what was your first role?
My first role was the play Hair in 1969, the musical Hair. So there are millions of people who know me naked,
First role on Hair, like the original production?
Not the original production. The play opened here in New York in 1968, and after they opened in New York, they opened a company in San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Chicago. And I was in the Chicago. There were 4 companies running then, starting in '69, and I was in the Chicago company. Did that for and my wife was in it as well. And as it turned out, that's where we met or got together. And so I wound up doing that for about a year and a half. And mainly I did theater after that. I did musicals. I really thought my key into show business was to be doing musical comedy theater.
Which is so crazy because some of your breakthroughs were doing kind of like tough guy David Mamet
Well, that's what I
characters.
mean. David Mamet kind of took me off into a whole other direction. In other words, in what you learn in this business, you play the cards you're dealt. You know what I mean? Like I had it in my head, like, well, I guess this is what I'm going to be. I was even in a band for 5 years prior to that. So I thought, well, musicals and musical comedy, that's going to be my key. And all of a sudden, it takes a turn, and next thing you know, you're going this way. But that's okay. This way's okay too. So you just go with the flow.
How did you hook up with him though? Not to make this about that, but out of curiosity, coming from musicals.
Well, just, luck of the draw that, we're two guys, we're 2 weeks apart in age. We both grew up in Chicago, and it was one of those things. I was a struggling actor, and he was a struggling playwright, and we bounced into each other. So I'm sure it's somewhat similar to, back in the days of Shakespeare, he probably ran into a guy on the street and said, "Hey, I got this play called Hamlet. You look like the right kind of guy for it. You want to do it?"
I need somebody to perform what I wrote.
Yeah,
Please.
yeah, and it kind of started like that, and we've had a wonderful kind of relationship ever since.
Yeah, and as I'm going to go to questions in a second from the audience. But as I said when you got on stage, House of Games is one of the great movies in my opinion. I watch it quite regularly.
Yeah,
I go back to it a lot. Let's get some questions from our audience right here.
I would just wanted to know, how does it feel seeing the team change throughout the years? Like, is it hard?
Each inception of it has been great. And then when the person goes from the inception, you feel a little like, oh no, where'd you go? And you're a little sad, and then you're reconditioning because this new person's come in. Each thing has been wonderful. And I gotta say that now, we all say this is the team. This is the, and of course, when Shamar left, it was really hard for me. And I thought, I'm not going to have a job anymore. He sort of made me have a job because the way he looked at the character and whatever. So I was really appreciative that I had that time with him. And it's sad when they go, but, right? What?
Yeah, you have to. I equate it to sports teams. Here in New York, the Yankees have been good ever since I was a little kid. And it's not like, DiMaggio is still playing or Mantle is still playing. The teams change, the personnel changes. You just have to get the right people to still play that position who can do it just as well but in a different way. And so that's what we hopefully have done. And I think the key has been because we are such a strong ensemble show. It's not a one-man band. It's not about the lead guy. You had shows like Magnum P.I. or House where they're built around that one central character, which is great. It's very important. But what happens if you lose that guy? If you lose House, you've lost the show. You lose Magnum P.I., you've lost the show. But it's still Criminal Minds, and in our current kind of formation, it's these 8 people, and hopefully each of us play our positions well enough that the ensemble is what the people enjoy. Maybe they like one person. Each person has their own particular people. Oh, I like him the best or her the best. But at the end of the day, it's the ensemble that carries the show.
The next question.
I actually have 2 questions. One's really simple. Were you Berger or Claude or somebody else in Hair? And the one which is really more relevant to what's being discussed here, how would you get this message across to kids? I teach about kids in a lot of my courses as far as a cautionary tale about being abducted because kids in different age groups process messages differently. In other words, how can you get it across to them so either they're not petrified or they're not, say as an adolescent might be, oh, this will never happen to me, I don't have to worry about it.
I think I would like to say, I think our show is not the forum in which children should learn it. But I think parents could watch it and learn a thing or two. But I think our show is super stimulating and great for adults, but I think it's overstimulating for kids because, I don't know about you, but man, I one time saw an avocado move in a strong wind and I was scared of them for a long time. So I don't know if this is the place for kids to learn about it, but for parents to find other things and learn things about oh yeah, don't be so, you just be aware of boundaries. Teach kids about boundaries. Boundaries are extremely important for a child to learn their own agency and to learn this is my space, this is my country that has been given to me, and I am the mayor, and I have to control its environment, and who gets to, it's an important thing to teach kids. So I think that there's a variety of ways. I think our show is for adults to learn stuff, not kids, but that's my thing.
And to answer your second question, I played Berger.
Next question.
Hi. I've been with you guys since day one, the show just keeps getting better and better. And my question for you is, the show itself is very heavy subject matter. What do you guys do on set to lighten things up?
Boy, what don't we do on set to lighten things up? I mean, having been in this business as long as I have, I really have come to the conclusion that the more serious the material you're doing, the more likely that those times when you're not actually filming, which are actually a very small part of the day, because you figure it would take 7 or 8 days to make an episode, but we're only shooting about 3 or 4 minutes worth of film each day. So in other words, for those moments you're watching on film are those moments when they say between action and cut, which we're getting very serious. But all that rest of the 12-hour day, it's pretty lighthearted on that set. And so we keep it pretty light, and the personalities lend itself toward that. And we have a great crew. For the most part, they've been there the whole time. And
I'm thinking of that moment when you're saying that. I'm like, oh, the one day where we had, they were changing the lights and whatever, and Joe's like, Kirsten, let's see if we can light these cookie wrappers on fire. Right. And we go into his trailer and we can't do it, and we leave a burn mark on the. Let's go in my room and see if we can light these. Or
the Italian cookie wrappers.
Yeah, wrappers.
And when I was a kid, when you lit these things, they would fly up in the air.
Still working on it.
I don't know, we're still working on it.
But I mean, like, I co-own a distillery, and I bring bottles of vodka to work. And sometimes, if we've all learned our lines and whatever, and Aisha hasn't tried a particular, this aquavit, I will bring it. And we're like, let's go in here and just, and now go back.
After hours, we do that.
After hours. We'd never. Yeah.
Make it clear. Make it clear.
After hours. Yes.
One more.
Hi. I'm wondering how cognizant everyone on the show is of the implicit messages being sent surrounding female agency, particularly when there is a lot of violence against women depicted.
Well, I think that I totally agree with you. And by the grace of God, we've shifted the dynamic where now we have 4 women who are in power. The reality of it is a lot of violence happens to women, so it makes sense narratively that it would be more women that would be victims. At the same time, I often wonder, how on the balance are we between being part of the problem and part of the solution? And that answer is never really, really clear. It's always a little bit in the gray. I've written 4 episodes. I know that I make a concerted effort to, when it is a female that is in danger, that we really treat it with a kind of reverence and instead of just blindly like random girl, like all of that nonsense. And I think we do, on our best day, we do that, and we certainly work towards it all the time, and we fail, and like any other show. But I think one of our great things is that we have 4 incredibly smart women that are smart off the camera and playing the characters that are strong, smart women. There's a girl who does a thing. She does this telefeminism project, and she's based in New York, and she does a Bechdel test. Wait, it's you. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. So this girl who runs this thing, she tests all these shows and does this and sometimes we actually pass the test. Sometimes we fail, but sometimes we pass, and that's exciting to all of us to be like, oh, we're nailing it.
Yeah, and I'd also like to use an example. I've said this before, just to give you one quick example of how we try to use sometimes episodes like that as a teaching tool. There was one episode where in one speech, Matthew Gubler's character, Dr. Reed, and a woman was being victimized. And we're trying to figure out, how did this happen? How did this happen? And in one speech, he says, oh, well, it had to be the car parker when she dropped off her car at the valet. Because what he did is, and then we showed it in flashback, she put in her navigation system home for her house. So now he got in the car, he hit home and got her home address. She had her garage door opener on the visor. He took the garage door opener. He had a device to copy her code. Now he has that. So now he has her address, he has her garage door opener, he goes to her house, and most people don't lock the garage door between their home and their garage because the big door is closed and you can't open it. So in one speech, he gave enough information that any woman out there who just randomly goes to restaurants, as we all do, as my wife does, as my daughters do, just leaves their car, and look, 99.9% of the time you're not going to have to worry about the valet parker. But still, maybe you should take the precaution. You don't have your home address in your navigation. You don't leave a way to get into your house on your visor when somebody else has your car, and you lock that door. So right there is a teaching tool that hopefully, and especially women, would be able to benefit from and maybe save a life.
Hopefully not male valet parkers, though. No, I'm kidding. Sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
well.
just kidding. Guys, congratulations on 13 seasons, moving into 14. The marathon's coming up on WeTV in commemoration of the 35th annual National Missing Children's Day, which everybody should look into and go look online and check out. And also check out Criminal Minds this Saturday and Monday, and the Saturday and Monday after that. And when the show
only
premieres
Saturdays and Mondays.
for its 300th episode and 14th season in the fall. Is that in the fall, right?
September.
Everybody, please give it up for Kirsten and Joe. Let's hear it.
Thank you.